You're not here for a history lesson. You're here because you felt that sick little tug in your gut that wanted to know just how deep the pit of human cruelty goes. And I'm going to take you there. Not to a museum, to the moment the skin splits, to the smell of your own flesh cooking. Forget what you think you know about pain. The Middle Ages didn't just break bodies. They methodically, joyfully, dismantled the human soul. Starting now, number 20, the rack. Imagine a sound. Not a snap, a slow, wet tearing, like butcher's twine being pulled through raw meat. That's your shoulder ligaments. You're on the rack, wood, rough against your bare back. The executioner doesn't rush. Why would he? He's an artist. Each crank of the wheel is a question. Each screaming inch of your body pulling apart is a negotiation. Your hips don't just dislocate. They explode outwards under the skin, a sickening bulge that means the bone will never sit right again. Your ribs don't break. They pop away from your sternum, one by one, and the pressure on your lungs feels like drowning in open air. The real genius? It's the silence between the cranks. The waiting. Guy Fawkes went on this thing. They pulled him until his own signature looked like an earthquake on paper, and he was one of the lucky ones. He only got it once. Some people woke up to find themselves still strapped in, the torturer fresh from a nap, ready for round 2, number 19. Collar of spikes. This isn't jewelry. It's a metal beast hugging your throat from the inside, a heavy iron ring, cold at first, then warm as it drinks your sweat. The inside is lined with inward-facing fangs, each one a polished inch of malice. They lock it on. You think you can handle it. Then you swallow. The spikes dig into your Adam's apple. You try to rest your head, just for a second, and a spike at the base of your skull whispers against the bone. Sleep is a death sentence. So you stay awake. For days, the punctures fester. You can smell yourself rotting before you feel the infection burn. In 15th century Germany, they'd chain you to a public wall with this thing on. The crowd wouldn't just laugh. They'd spit. The humiliation wasn't a side effect. It was the main course. You'd stand there, swaying, a living, stinking, weeping warning. And the only way out was to confess to anything at all. Number 18, the scavenger's daughter. You'll beg to be stretched. If the rack pulls you apart, this thing folds you into a piece of living origami. Iron bands and hinges, shaped like an A, they cram you in, head forced down to your kneecaps, your own thighs crushing your guts. The agony isn't sharp, it's a deep, cellular crush. Blood vessels in your eyes blow out. You taste copper and iron. It's your own blood, but it's not from a wound. It's being forced up from your compressed organs. Your lungs fight for a teaspoon of air. Every exhale is a victory. Every inhale is razor blades. Henry VIII loved this one. It was quiet, no broken bones, just internal mush. Chronicles say nobles would faint in minutes. Minutes. What's worse than the pain? When they pull you out, feeling your crushed insides slosh back into place, knowing they can just do it again. The damage is invisible on the outside. But inside? You're a walking bruise, number 17. Burning at the stake, this wasn't death. This was a community event. The real horror wasn't the flames. It was the green wood. They packed it around you. Fresh, wet branches that hissed and smoked like a demon before they even caught fire. You choked on the smoke for 10, 15 minutes before the first flicker of heat kissed your feet. Executioners sold the best spots. They'd throw sulfur on the fire to make your lungs bleed faster. Your skin doesn't just burn, it bubbles. Fat renders from your body, sizzling onto the coals, and the smell, sweet, acrid, horrifying. It clung to the clothes of the onlookers for days. In the Marian persecutions, hundreds of Protestants took 30 minutes or more to die. 30 minutes of conscious, screaming, blinding agony. Why make it so public? Why so slow? Because power isn't just about killing. It's about showing you that your entire body, your entire pain, is just a canvas for their warning. It's a signature written in your charred bones. But that was fire. The next one is pure, cold, calculated pressure. Number 16. Pressing, peine forte dure, more weight. 2 words. Giles Corey, Salem, 1692, accused of witchcraft. He refused to plead. Know why? Because if he didn't plead, they couldn't convict him. They couldn't take his family's land. So they stripped him naked, laid a board over his chest, and started stacking stones. It's not a quick death. It's a negotiation that lasts days. You're suffocating in slow motion. Imagine the weight of 700 pounds on a single, focused point on your chest. Your ribs don't snap at once. They crackle, one at a time, like twigs at the bottom of a heavy boot. Your tongue swells from the pressure, forcing itself out of your mouth. They pushed it back in with a cane. A crowd watched. For 2 days, his only words were a defiant rasp. More weight. It wasn't just torture. It was a legal loophole paved in human organs. A cold-blooded transaction where a slow, squashing death was the price of defiance. Number 15. Crocodile shears. Forget a clean cut. This is a bite from a cold-blooded metal monster. They weren't just pincers. They were a serrated, 4-fanged mouth forged of iron. The executioner would heat them until they glowed a faint, angry orange, over 600 degrees. Then he'd clamp them around your fingers or your toes. Or, if you were a traitor or a sodomite, the soft, screaming flesh between your legs. The teeth didn't pierce. They bit down, and then he'd wrench. It's a multi-sensory nightmare. The sizzle hiss of your own meat, cauterizing as it's torn. The wet crunch of bone splintering. The smell of burnt hair and blood. Before they quartered Francois of Aillac for assassinating a king, they tore his flesh with these red-hot shears in front of a cheering Parisian crowd. The point wasn't to extract information. It was a public disassembly. A spectacular, bloody preview of hell. Served hot. Number 14. The strappado. This is the sound of a body betraying itself. Your hands tied behind your back. A rope looped around your wrists. In a stone dungeon in Rome, they hoist you up. Your full body weight is now hanging from your shoulder joints, rotated backward in a way they were never meant to go. Then, they let go. Not all the way, just a sudden, savage drop that stops with a jerk. The pop isn't a sound you hear. It's a thing you feel from the inside. A seismic event of tearing gristle and lightning white pain. Your arms wrench from their sockets. Sometimes, the bone tears right through the muscle and skin. A wet, white spearhead poking into the world. Inquisition records from the 1590s talk about prisoners fainting on the first drop. So they'd revive them. Cold water, hard slaps, and hoist them up again. The agony was so pure, so beyond human endurance, that men confessed to Congress with the devil just to stop the next drop. The devil was a fantasy. The pain was the most real thing in the world. Number 13. The Branks. The Scold's Bridle. Hold up. You think torture is just blood and screaming? This is a different kind of horror. A quiet one. The Branks was an iron cage for the head. But the key was the bit. A 2-inch flat piece of iron forced into your mouth, pressing your tongue down. Some versions had spikes on that bit. If you so much as tried to form a word, to whimper, the spikes would shred your tongue into bloody ribbons. This was for women. Women who nagged, women who gossiped, women who dared to have a voice. They'd parade you through the mud streets of Scotland, a chain through the front of the cage. Like a dog, the iron clangs against your teeth. You can't swallow the drool and blood. It just streams down your chin. Mixing with the rotten vegetables, the crowd pelts at you. What's truly sick? The physical wounds heal, but the psychological annihilation, being silenced, publicly degraded, turned into a monster for speaking, that's a scar that never fades. It was a weapon that didn't just punish a woman, it unmade her. Wait, think about that for a second. Dying in a fire is one thing, but living, for decades, with your mind shattered by shame. That's the long con of cruelty. Number 12. The garrote. An execution that feels like a sick embrace. You sit in a chair. Behind you, an iron collar hugs your neck, bolted to a post. It's almost intimate. The executioner stands behind you. You can't see his face. You just feel his breath and the cold metal tightening as he slowly, deliberately, turns a screw. In the early versions, it was a slow strangle, a metal bolt pressing into your throat, crushing the windpipe shut. You'd convulse like a landed fish for 5 minutes, the crowd counting the thrash. The genius upgrade was a sharpened point, added to the screw. Now, with one final, hard twist, it didn't just strangle you. It punched through the back of your neck, shattering your cervical vertebrae. Instant, silent death, or not. The sadistic choice was the torturer's. A quick, unseen snap, or a slow, public choke. Spain used this for centuries. Even executed a prime minister with it. The ultimate psychological weapon? You were forced to sit calmly, almost politely, while a stranger decided from behind whether your next breath would be your last. Number 11. The pillory and stocks. You think this is a joke? A photo op at a Renaissance fair. It was a slow-motion public execution where the weapon was the crowd, locked in wood, your head and hands immobile. You were a perfect target. It's not just rotten food. It's stones that crack your cheekbone, dog shit smeared in your eyes, boiling water that melts the skin off your scalp. In 1623 London, a man died in the pillory after a rock crushed his skull to pulp. The mob just cheered. No one was arrested, because this was justice. You were defenseless. You couldn't feed yourself. You couldn't wipe the blood from your eyes. Birds would come and peck at open wounds. In winter, your exposed fingers turned black with frostbite, and they'd just snap off when they unlocked the wood. The authorities said, "It's not lethal," but death was just a lucky side effect. The real sentence was being a human ashtray for society's filth, forced to stare into a sea of hate with no way to close your eyes. Number 10. Coffin torture. A cage exactly your size, not an inch bigger. You're stripped naked and locked inside a hanging iron coffin in the town square. The goal wasn't a quick death. It was a public rotting. In the summer, the iron baked you alive, the metal searing your skin. In the winter, the cold welded your bare flesh to the freezing bars, and when they finally pulled you out, half your skin stayed behind. But the real sadistic artistry. They'd smear you with honey. Flies, drawn by the sweetness, would burrow into your anus, your eyes, the corners of your mouth. They'd lay eggs. You'd feel the maggots hatch in open sores, writhing, eating. You'd scream until your throat was raw, and the people below would glance up, annoyed, between bites of bread. Chroniclers described the corpses hanging for months, a grotesque, skeletal mobile, leaking fluids onto the cobblestones. You weren't a person anymore. You were a public service announcement written in rot. Number 9. The knee splitter. This is a machine built for a single purpose, to make you a lifelong ruin. 2 metal plates, lined with anywhere from 3 to 20 spikes. They clamp it around your knee. The executioner starts turning the screw. The spikes, cold and blunt, dimple the skin before they pop through. Then they hit the kneecap. The sound is a dull crackle, like stepping on a walnut. But he keeps turning. The spikes grind through cartilage, the meniscus tearing into shreds. Tendons that took a lifetime to build snap like old rubber bands. When the screw is fully tightened, your knee is not a joint anymore. It's a bag of loose bone shards and pulp. They'd do it to both knees. Before the interrogation even started. Why? Because if they asked a question and you ran, you'd only be crawling. The Spanish Inquisition was particularly fond of this. They weren't just punishing a heretic. They were ensuring a man would never walk, never kneel, never stand on his own again. A permanent, living, crawling monument to their power. Number 8. Tarring and burning. Napalm before napalm. This was a sailor's punishment for mutiny. First, they'd strip you and lash you to the mainmast in front of the entire crew. Then they'd bring up the boiling black pitch, heated to over 400 degrees. It's not a liquid, it's a thick, bubbling volcanic paste. When it hits your skin, it doesn't just burn. It sticks. It bonds with your flesh, cooking it instantly while sealing in the heat. You are now wearing a second skin of molten fire. The pain is so colossal you don't even hear your own screams. Then, they set you alight. You become a human torch, the tar bubbling and popping, your body fat fueling the flames. The British Navy made entire crews watch. The smell, a nauseating cocktail of pine pitch, burning hair, and roasting meat, would linger on the salt air for hours. The charred, smouldering corpse was left hanging, a beacon of terror, a message that said, "This is what happens when you defy your master." Number 7. Thumbscrews. Small, discreet. The kind of evil you can carry in your pocket. They look almost delicate, but they're engineered to destroy a life's work. A simple iron clamp with a threaded screw. They slip it over your thumb. The torturer asks a question. Silence. A tiny, almost lazy turn of the screw. The pressure builds. Your nail bed screams first, turning a deep, trapped purple. Another turn. The nail pops off like a shell. Another turn. The bone in the tip of your thumb starts to crack, not shatter, crack, slowly, a radiating spiderweb of agony. Scottish witch hunters were obsessed with these. They didn't need a signature, a trembling X from a smashed, pulpy hand would do. Some versions were designed for toes. Imagine never walking barefoot again, because the memory of your bones being ground to grit is too much. They'd do it for hours. Just enough pressure to mime, but not enough to let you pass out. A German prison record mentions a thief who begged to be hanged instead of one more turn. He wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of living as a useless, throbbing stump. Number 6. The chair of nails. Sit down. No, really, imagine it. A heavy wooden chair. But the seat, the back, the armrests, every single inch is covered in dents, hand-forged iron spikes. Some had over 1,500 of them. They'd often heat the spikes first. Then they'd strap you in. Naked, leather straps, pulled so tight your flesh puckered around the bands. Your own body weight, the slump of exhaustion, is your enemy. Every micro-shift drives the spikes deeper into your buttocks, your spine, your shoulders. It's not about deep, fatal wounds. It's about 1,000 points of constant, unrelenting pressure and fire. In Nuremberg, they'd leave you there for days. The blood loss was a slow drip, a tap left on. You'd faint from the pain, and your limp body would slump, driving the spikes in new angles. They'd wake you with a whip and ask again. The chair was a masterpiece of passive cruelty. You weren't fighting a torturer. You were fighting a static piece of furniture that was slowly, methodically, eating you alive. Number 5. The iron gag. They didn't want you to talk. They wanted to take the very idea of speech from you. A cold, brutal piece of metal, a bitten plate, forced deep into your open, screaming mouth. The plate crushes your tongue, pinning it to the floor of your jaw. A sharpened spur on the back digs into the soft palate of your throat. Every gag reflex is a laceration. Every attempt to breathe through your mouth scrapes the metal deeper. They'd bolt the thing to a wall and leave you standing there. You'd drool a river of pink, frothy blood down your chin. The sound was a wet, gurgling whistle, a slow, asphyxiating horror. In Saxony, they'd parade thieves through the street wearing this. It wasn't just pain. It was an existential silencing. You couldn't beg for mercy. You couldn't confess. You couldn't scream. You were locked inside your own head with nothing but the sound of your lungs scraping against the iron. Number 4. The drunkard's cloak. You see a barrel. A joke. Right? Wrong. This is humiliation weaponized to the point of death. They'd cut a hole in the bottom of a beer barrel, 2 holes on the sides, shove your drunk, reeking body inside, and clamp it shut. Now you're a human keg, marched through the streets of 17th century England while children throw stones and break your fingers. The inside is slick with stale beer and your own urine. In the summer, the stench inside is a physical thing. It makes you vomit, and you're trapped in the barrel with it. Choking on your own puke. In the winter, The damp, freezing wood bonds to your skin. By the time they unlocked you, the frostbite had turned your arms a dead, waxy black. People were locked in these for days. They couldn't lie down. They died standing up, soiled and frozen solid, a statue of public shame. What starts as a giggling punishment ends in a lonely, grotesque death. Number 3. The Spanish tickler. The name sounds almost gentle, doesn't it? It's a lie. This is a clawed metal rake, a cat's paw of curved iron prongs. The victim is chained naked to a wall. The torturer, often an inquisitor, draws the claw down your back. It's not a scratch. The prongs hook under the skin and latissimus muscles, and with a slow, steady pull, he peels you like a piece of fruit. Strips of muscle ribbon off the bone. Then they'd heat the claws until they were white hot. Now it's not just tearing, it's searing the wound shut at the exact moment of creation. A layered canvas of third-degree burns and exposed, raw meat. They'd target your face, your chest, down to the gleaming white of your ribs and shins. You wouldn't die from the blood loss, not at first. You'd die from the infection that followed, a feverish, stinking, week-long rot. The Spanish tickler didn't just torture you, it literally, publicly, unmade you, piece by piece. Number 2. The breaking wheel. This is a death by geometry. They lay you out on a massive cartwheel, your limbs spread, your body a starfish of sacrifice. The executioner hefts an iron-bound cudgel. The first blow shatters your shin into splinters. The sound is like a green branch being snapped over a knee, but wetter. The second blow crushes your femur. The crowd, thousands of them, counts along. They follow an anatomy chart, working upwards, joint by joint. After 8 to 10 devastating, bone-powdering hits, you're not dead, you're a ruined sack of loose bones. Then, and this is the part no one talks about, they weave your limp, mangled body through the spokes of the wheel itself. They hoist you up on a towering pole, and you hang there, a boneless horror, for hours or even days, babbling, croaking, still alive under the open sky, as the crows start with your eyes. It was called the Catherine Wheel, a symbol of holy vengeance, turned into a spectacle of grotesque, twitching art. And finally, number 1, scaphism. Forget everything you've heard. This isn't medieval European. It's ancient Persian, whispered about by chroniclers as the ultimate erasure of a human being. Scaphism. They strip you naked and force you into a hollowed-out tree trunk or a narrow boat. A second boat is clamped on top. Only your head, hands, and feet protrude. You are now an insect nursery. They force-feed you milk and honey, buckets of it, violent, uncontrollable. Explosive diarrhea fills the tiny space, soaking your raw, struggling body. They smear more honey on your face, your genitals, your anus. Then they push you out into a stagnant, sun-baked swamp. The flies come first, buzzing, a thick black blanket. Then the wasps, drawn to the sweetness, stinging blindly. They lay eggs in every orifice, every open scratch. Within days, the maggots are hatching inside you, burrowing, eating you alive from the inside out. The ancient accounts say it took 7 to 14 days to die. 14 days of being a rotting, maggot-filled, immobile ship of horrors. The smell of your own putrefaction is the last thing you smell. The sight of your own hands being eaten by larvae is the last thing you see. It's not just execution, it's a total, screaming, drawn-out annihilation of body, dignity, and soul. The ultimate proof that hell is not a place you go to, it's a thing we do to each other. Thanks for sticking around to the bloody end. You're sick, and you fit right in. Smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next descent into the human nightmare. Because this wasn't even the bottom.